Hey all, welcome to Discount Bin, a pack of pals reading, digesting, and arguing over fantasy novels in a weekly podcast format. This week, we are continuing The Powder Mage, Book 1, Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. Like always, we have the usual suspects. I'm Daniel, and we have Rick.
Hello!
Lexi.
Hello!
And Leonard.
Hello!
Okay, so I got to do the chapter summaries and questions this week. And I think we'll go... I'll read the chapter summary, and then I have some questions, and if we could talk about the chapter after so we'll go chapter by chapter. Okay, chapter 21. This chapter opens with Tomas having nightmares of his men and his son dying on the South Pike Mountain. He awakens physically disturbed. On his way to the kitchens, Olam says that bad dreams were bad omens. Once at the kitchens, and interrupting a three-way omelet-making sesh between Malahali and a couple of his pupils, Mahali chats with Tomas, echoing the same, that bad dreams are bad omens. Mahali adeptly mixes Tomas a sleeping drug that's reminiscent of like a spicy hot chocolate, and makes it clear that yes, he is making food out of thin air. Mahali also says, while Tomas is falling asleep, before Kresimir comes, I think I need to prepare a welcome for my brother. Halfway through this chapter, we get a POV switch from Tomas to Adamat. Adamat is continuing his investigation into Tomas's inner council at some smelly docks. Adamat is visiting his old friend Rickard Tumblar, the leader of the Noble Warriors of Labor, and unionized operations of metallurgy, coal cooking, and mining. Adamat and Rickard have a frank discussion over wine and dirty glasses. Despite Rickard having good motives to kill Tomas, the risks of losing him as an ally on the council outweighs Tomas's criticism of the Union. Adamat confronts Rickard with evidence that Rickard was making a deal with the Kez. Rickard explains that despite trying to expand the Union, Kez did not want the Union at all and kicked all of his Union men out of Kez. Rickard then tries to indicate that Reeve Andreas is very shady and that the Archdiocese Charlemont was a part of a cult. Okay. So here are some questions I had, and I'm gonna go around on my screen to ask you guys. So my first question for Daniel. So who is Mahali's brother?
I think because he's Adril Reborn or Adam Reborn. I think Kresimir is his brother.
But do you really think that that's his brother?
Oh, like, do I think he's really Adam Reborn? Yes, I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think it would be so funny if later, just randomly, his brother shows up to the camp and like he's made like this great big feast, and it's not a god.
Yeah, it's just some rando.
I think Daniel's right. I think it is him. I think this is supposed to be a god reborn. I really just wanted to be Steve the Pirate, where he's not really a pirate, too. I just want him to be just some dude. Like, that'd be great. He's a great character anyway, regardless.
That's Steve the Pirate from Zoolander. Or no, from Dodgeball.
Dodgeball, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In case people are confused.
I was confused. Thank you. Okay, my next question for Rick. Tomas tells Mahali that he sees the knack about him. And Mahali says that he's used to hiding it. So do you think Mahali is just the knack? Something more like the god that he claims? And can knacks hide their knack aura?
I don't know, like, did we ever... so clearly Tomas specified that he could see it using the third eye, I'm assuming, during that. So he can at least see the abilities. There is nothing to say that the gods of this universe aren't just, like, people that just happen to have all the knacks or multiple knacks, and these are just all splinters of God. Like, oh, these are all the facilities. These are all little pieces of a god split, almost like Cosmere style of like the shards. So, like, I kind of want to believe he is a god. I mean, I kind of want to believe he's not a god, or using that same kind of thought process, maybe he is just a piece of a god, and that's what all Knacks are. So it doesn't really answer your question.
What if they were all Knacks all got their powers from Kresimir, and summoning Kresimir brings all those powers and takes it from the Knacks and turns them into a person, and all the Knacks lose their power?
What if they physically all just become a just amorphous flesh blob, kind of like summoning
like Akira style?
like a Captain Planet of flesh.
They did describe, right? It takes like what 13, 14 powerful privileges to summon Kresimir. It wasn't just, I don't know. I felt like there was like a proper summoning to it.
Yeah,
I read it as like he's just high all the time. I don't actually believe he's really a god. It feels like he's been fed this lie all his life by his dad, and it sounds like it's just a knack, a very unique knack. I don't think that's enough to say that he's a god yet.
There was also the earthquake when he showed up, and the earthquake when he went away.
He also seems to be everywhere like he needs to be.
Yes. Well, we'll get to that later. Yeah. Okay, so then can Knacks hide this aura from people with the third eye?
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so either, which is why I think he is more than a Knack.
But we didn't really have anything to suggest that they can't either, though, right? Like, has that even been explored yet?
No, I don't remember. I don't think so.
I mean, the privilege definitely can't, right? Otherwise, they would turn it off when the shooters are trying to kill them and like hunting them down by their aura.
Yeah. Okay, Leonard. Do we think that Rickard is knowingly allowing Kez agents into the country? It is revealed that the Kez agents are coming through these docks that are under his control. Do you think he is knowingly allowing it to happen?
Yeah, he strikes me more of a merchant than a patriot. I do think that he's part of it. I mean, it's probably pretty lucrative deal for him, right? He doesn't strike me as like the, oh, I can't let the enemy in kind of guy. He strikes me as merchant first.
Yeah. Well, it's just so he had such a bad dealing with the Kez. The Kez literally kicked out all of his union people when he was trying to make that deal, and they wanted nothing to do with the unions. I don't see the Kez willingly, at least on the books, working with a union man.
I think Kez will do whatever they want.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, there might be another deal under the table, right? Where you'll help us, we will let you do what you want. Like, that was not revealed. I mean, all the interactions we've had with Rickard is just between him and Adamant. He might be withholding information still. I don't know.
Just like, don't ask questions. You paid me to not ask questions.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next chapter. Chapter 22. This chapter starts with our powder-huffing powder mage being awoken by an alarm bell. The Kez soldiers are making advances towards the mountain watch. Capol points out a privilege tower, which apparently are structures of legends that turn the tides of wars past. Capol also crafts and gives Taniel a heavy bag filled with red striped bullets, a special anti-privilege ammunition that has been charmed to get through privilege shield, except for privilege towers. They don't work there. Julene needs the whole Kez cabal of privilege in order to summon Kresimir. During this battle, we do have a heartfelt conversation between Taniel and Bo about Taniel's mom and the origin of this war in the first place, and it brings Taniel to tears in the middle of this battle. Taniel is really feeling the pressure of holding the Kez back and wishes that his father were there instead of him. He does muster up the strength, though, our Taniel two-shot protagonist. Okay. Daniel, what do we think of the privilege towers? There was only one.
Yeah, I thought it was, I don't know. It was a little bit like, if this thing is so powerful, why haven't people been building it, all along? Because it didn't seem to be like, oh, nobody knows how to, because, the Cabal is passing all this knowledge from literally thousands of years ago.
It sounds like one of those towers that you had troops mounted up to roll up to walls. What do you call that thing again?
Siege tower.
It's just called a siege tower?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the description sounds like a siege tower that's just heavily enchanted with privileges in it. It doesn't sound that special, actually.
It doesn't sound very mobile.
No.
Like you just kind of set it up and yeah, you poke from it.
Yeah, I mean it's basically your tank, right? You get protection from the privileges inside it, generating a shield around it, and that's why Daniel had to like pick off the privileges that are like just at the edge of the shield rather than in it. That's how it was described.
Yeah, so the thing was, it does do a shield like wider, but he's got those like red stripe bullets, and so he's able to like break through it. But I think it's protecting from like all the other.
He can't go through. He can't go through the privilege tower.
Yeah, not close
not
to
directly,
it, but like around it.
Yeah,
it was protected from normal bullets, like a lot wider than it is with his special red stripe bullets.
I'm just thinking red stripe beer every time we talk about this.
It reminds me of you guys watch Star Wars, right? The Gungans had like this thing that generated like a shield bubble.
Yeah, or like little robots that did the same thing, like little combat bots.
Yeah, that's what the description sounded like.
It just, to me, it just feels like it's not it's a really weird thing to pick on an offense. It feels less of like a siege, more like a defensive stance. But I mean, if you can build it up real fast, why not?
I'm still waiting for this Mountain Watch. I think that's what they're called. The Mountain Watch, like excellent defense, that hasn't been broken in a millennia or whatever. Because it seems like it's just a bunch of normal people that have the high ground and a lot of guns.
Isn't that like what most of those are, basically, right? Like this.
But they made it sound like really built up, like this is something special, and none of them are even magical.
It is special because there's a ton of words and enchantments from sorcerers like Julene from years, like millennia ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the cast.
But it's not stopping people from walking up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't they say they killed like what, 25,000 troops already? No, like they suffer heavy casualties. It's just the cast have a lot of people.
They just have like a million people.
Yeah. I guess they made it sound like the people had something special going for them, whereas it's really just like being on top of a mountain is special.
Just terrain. It's all just terrain.
I mean, another Star Wars thing. They did have the high ground. Next.
Yeah. So Rick, how did you feel about this? So we have this random addition of privilege towers and this random addition of red stripe ammo in this chapter.
I feel like we're 3/4 through the first book, and I don't know. It like this was obviously written to be a trilogy, but it feels like this. I don't know what's going on in the second and third book, but it feels like this book is going by really fast and probably could have been combined with another one to be doing this much exposition and adding of like powers, because we're still getting new tiers and stuff. Like we didn't get a new tier of Mage yet, but I guess this stuff's kind of got to exist. Like they've got to be. It's not. We haven't really seen war yet. Now we're seeing war, so we're seeing war things. The bullets thing is kind of weird that the wildling just kind of knew how to make it when they're kind of like, it sounds like it's an ancient kind of thing, but they kind of refer to her as a savage or whatever. So being beefed up and making anti-mage bullets feels a little weird, but it's fine. It's par for the course for this book so far, right?
Yeah.
Have to give him a fighting chance, right?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he could still just murder them from way outside of their range is a pretty good chance to begin with. But yeah, even with shields,
it's also possible guns like literally come from the place she's from. I forget the name, Castamere or whatever, because they had like those really nice gunsmiths. And
yeah. You're right.
Did they actually explain why Julene wants that mountain in particular? Like they say she wants to summon Castamere there, right? But is there like another significance to that mountain?
I think it's that temple.
So the temple must be the place
they went through. Maybe
ley line of power.
Because if that mountain is not the requirement, right? I think I have a pretty crazy theory as to why this
mountain is Casimir.
No, I'm just thinking about the book title. Says Promise of Blood, right? Like I'm wondering if Julene is throwing all the cast soldiers because part of the cost of summoning is blood.
Could be.
Or
she only really needs to kill one person. She has to kill the baby. That's all she's got to do. So throw whatever she wants, everybody at it. Just kill the baby, and Kresimir comes.
You mean the kid?
Yeah,
Totally.
isn't he? He's like a baby, isn't he? He's like a toddler.
He's like 6.
Yeah.
Is he 6? No, I thought he was like 4.
Maybe that tunnel that they're building is where they're draining all the dead bodies and they're feeding the blood into the mountain. Back to Leonard's.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys ready for the next chapter?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Chapter 23. We have Tomas and several other members of the Inner Council at a hunt after the tradition of the usurped king. We first see Lady Wenceslav, which I will call Lady W from here on out, and her arguments that it's important to continue the hunt. It's a beautiful day, and Tomas starts to relax. Nothing could go wrong. There is drama amongst the Inner Council members as they all get ready to hunt, and they're trotting along on their horses. Lots of chit-chat and jabs at one another, and a few members, including Tomas, fall behind in the hunt. The young whipper-in, Gaben, tells of a shortcut through the woods to catch up to the rest of the hunting party. Surprise, it was a trap all along. Tomas is taken by Brigadier Rise, one of Lady W's brigadiers. Tomas sees a privilege in the depths of the forest and asks Rise what's going on. Rise has a look of concern on his face, and he says that he has been betrayed. Rise explains that he was just trying to save his son, that the Brigadier Barat is a traitor unbeknownst to Lady W, and that he is not working alone. Rise is killed by fire from this hidden privilege and effectively gives his life to save Tomas. Alright, Leonard, what do you think about them continuing this hunt tradition?
I have a lot of mixed thoughts about it. Like, firstly, I think it was right for Tomas to say that he probably didn't want to continue it because it was like a symbol of an expensive sport that the nobility participated in, but he also enjoyed it. I think Lady W wanted to continue it because you want the nation to know that there's still some form of like order or tradition that's carried on. It's not just like a new tyrant. Well, it kind of is like a new tyrant replacing it. I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. Like, I think if I were Tomas, I do not want to continue it because he by continuing the tradition, he's sending the message that a new tyrant has taken over, and that is him, and he doesn't want it to be perceived that way. I think that's my stance on it. I wouldn't want to continue it, but I think there are some valid reasons too as well. Possibly controversial opinion.
Yeah, I don't know where I stand on it. I thought it was interesting that like they had this conversation in the book because it is like talking about like classism and like the entire reason that they usurped the king in the first place. Daniel, did you foresee this trap?
Yes. I was not surprised by that at all.
They also introduced like a few like kind of shady-ish characters to it during the hunt too, like Charlemagne in particular.
Yes. Yeah, we got the Archdiocese with his 3 priestess. Okay.
Dirty bastard.
Next chapter. This chapter, 24, Adamet has a visitor, Lord Vetis, who comes inquiring after Adamet's current investigation for Tomas. This visitor also delivers Adamet's son's severed finger and threatens to bring his daughter's head in a similar fashion if Adamet does not comply. Adamet, of course, complies, telling the visitor every detail of his investigations. The visitor is not pleased and threatens Adamet again if he doesn't have more concrete information the next time he visits. He will bring a box with his daughter's head in it. I didn't have any questions for this one. It seems pretty straightforward. I guess, who do we think that Lord Vetis is working for?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either.
No. Somebody in book 2?
It's just like not enough information to connect him to anybody.
It's going to be like whoever the traitor is, and we're going to find out in the last act of this, and it's going to lead us into the book 2.
And I will say that this was predicted by us in, I think, the first episode.
That he is working for somebody?
That his family was safe.
Oh yeah. No one's ever safe. I'm surprised they weren't killed by a boar.
My guesses are he's working for Rickard or Charlemagne. Those are my top two traitor suspects at this point.
Oh, that's right. The church apparently knows a lot about everything. Maybe he's just part of their network.
I like the church, but that's a later chapter.
I also think
Do you like the mansion or just the church in general?
Well, we'll get there. Go ahead, Daniel.
I felt like, I guess it's kind of a spoiler for what doesn't happen in our reading, but he finds out that his family's been kidnapped, and in the 4 or 5 chapters after that, still hasn't even looked into it or done anything that we've seen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, he kind of gave up real fast with that too. He's like,
Yeah.
well, that's it. Which I feel like is kind of a realistic response, but not a normal fantasy hero-y kind of response.
I feel like a more realistic response, considering you got Sue Smith with his guns right up above, is to take this guy captive and slowly start chopping fingers off and figure out where your family is.
I mean, if this guy is willing just to do this just to prove a point, like his leaders or whatever is probably like that sucks, but
Yeah, I mean,
it's expendable. We're trying to summon Kresimir here. We're gonna spill a little blood.
Yeah.
Clearly this guy also wasn't flinched with having a knife at his throat, right? Like,
More reason to make him flinch.
Oh man, I kind of want this to be like one of those, like the bad guys actually trying to do something good. Like this is some sect who's actually actively trying to stop Kresimir from coming back, and they're trying to investigate as if like Tomas is doing it, and they're just fucking wrong. But they're just a bunch of assholes anyway. But they're trying to do the good thing. Well, by happenstance, I don't know. I want a conflicted enemy here, someone that we can like and hate at the same time.
Maybe they're trying to protect history. They don't want Adamet or anyone to find the real truth of Kresimir.
Kresimir has been here the whole time in our hearts. Kresimir is the friends we made along the way.
He's the guy you have to accept to go to heaven.
There you go. This is Earth all along.
Okay.
Kresimir is Jesus. Let's go.
Okay, moving on. Chapter 25. It's been weeks at the mountain where Taniel and friends, TM, have been defending against the Kez advances. Today, however, the Kez gather a great force at one point and break over the bulwark, and there is a melee. Kapal calls out privilege for Taniel to kill, and they do good work. After lots of fighting, the Kez advance is stymied, and both sides retreat, recoup, and collect dead. They also have a truce going on. After this, we have a POV switch to Tomas. Blurry-eyed in a small room. He was captured by Duke Nixlos. The Duke is planning to take Tomas to Kez to kill him on the same guillotine that was used to kill Tomas's wife. Nixlos has instructed his surgeon to put gold into Tomas, rendering Tomas unable to use his powder mage abilities. Tomas is sad. Rick, what did you think about the truce that was called after weeks and weeks of fighting?
I mean, they got what they wanted. I don't know. I don't really have thoughts on that part, really. Like, they got their bargaining chip, and they did what they were going to do to him.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I wonder, like, if it was planned by Julene, because later they're digging. Then we can talk about that. Leonard, what do you think about Tomas's capture and his insertion, his gold implant?
What's very funny is when they mentioned that gold star in his leg, the first thing I thought of was back to the Broganov one. I was imagining that when they channel their powder powers or something, there's probably some electrical element to it, and maybe the gold star disrupted because gold is such a good conductor for electricity, right? I wonder if that's the... I tried to science it out, I know. It probably did make sense, but that was the thought I had in my head. Like, what if the gold star disrupts the flow of electricity because it's all going to the star? I thought that was weird. But it's also interesting in a way that if the powder mages can be disrupted that way, can the privileges be disrupted like that too? Like, what about something similar to what the anti-privilege... What do
The
you
red
call the
stripe
people again?
bullets?
No, not the red stripe bullets. Remember there was like
thought
another
chop
class
off their
of the
hands.
villagers? No. Oh,
As like
yeah,
as
not
like
just that.
comparable to
But I'm thinking about the anti-mage people. What did we call them again?
mage breakers,
Oh.
I think.
The Mage Breakers? Or
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Just wondering what makes the mage breakers unique and if they can do the same.
Silver in their blood.
I don't know. That was the first thought I had in my head, but we finally learned there's a way to kind of like stop powder mages.
Kryptonite.
And the star, I assume the shape of the star is to make it harder to remove. It'll probably cause some flash damage when you try to take it out, right? I don't think it had to be in the shape of a star. I think it's just there to be more disruptive.
They said it was pointy to keep the wound open inside the knee, so it wouldn't like grow a cyst around it.
Yeah.
So it would like continually open. Because if it grows a cyst around it, then he's a powder mage again.
So it actively has to be touching his bloodstream. So it's like, what if the gold's like diluting the powder? What if the powder's literally in their bloodstream?
I mean, they whiff the powder all the time.
Daniel,
So yeah.
why didn't the Duke kill Tomas right here?
Because he was ordered to bring him back. They wanted to make it a public execution, and because, plot armor.
He was a servant. He was but an instrument.
Yeah. I really like their conversation. I like the Duke guy, his disdain for him, and he's just so sure of himself and that he knows the right way. And Tomas is
a later conversation.
Oh, was it a later
Really?
conversation?
It is, yeah.
No,
Oh, my bad.
Oh, it's
I
okay.
guess the same one, right? He also talks about how Ipil is a god and it's blasphemy.
Nope.
They haven't had
not
the
this chapter.
conversation yet.
Oh.
Never mind. Then.
We'll
I hate
get
the
there.
Conversation.
Okay. Next chapter. We have Adamant visiting the Reeve Andreas. It's another frank conversation. Adamant realizes that Tomas is actually missing. The rumors are true. And that Andreas is properly the most powerful man in the country. If he wanted Tomas dead, he would not need the Kez to do so. Also talking with Andreas, he finds that Ricard is receiving large sums of money from outsiders. We are back to Tomas, another POV switch. He's riding in an ornamental carriage with the Duke. They have a conversation about God and country, right and wrong. Nick Klaus peeks out the window and smiles. Tomas is sorrowed. They have arrived. Psych! There's a huge explosion, and Tomas is saved by Olim and one best boy, Hirsch the doggo, who's been trained to pick up Tomas's scent no matter what. Okay. Open question for you all. What do you guys think about Reeve Andreas?
I like him. I thought it's cool. He's like the richest guy in the world, and he's just in this tiny little house with his little servant who's been with him for 40 years, and I don't know. He just seems to really love books a lot, like Fingers loves numbers from the last book.
Friendly, yeah.
Friendly, yeah, not Fingers. Yeah, he just wants to crunch the numbers and do his thing.
He's also kind of intimidating, though, with how he talks. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know about him yet. It feels so random, like the way he was introduced and how he's just this richest dude around, but also so hardworking and still crunching the numbers. He sounds like he's like second Adamat to me. Like he'll be there to provide the answers eventually.
Okay. Now we can talk about the carriage conversation. Do you guys really buy that Nick Sloss is just an instrument?
He seemed like he believes it for sure. Like he seemed pretty much like a fanatic.
He is.
It doesn't feel like there's manipulation. I mean, it all kind of makes sense.
He was calling Ipil a god, and Tomas was trying to say that, he wasn't chosen by gods, he was chosen by people. Something along those lines, right? And then Nick Sloss was like, no, that my line stops at blasphemy, and he just stopped talking.
He's a paladin, right?
He does say that he does find some joy in it.
That's fine.
and killing people.
I mean, paladins find some joy in smiting evil. Like that's a part of it. There's justification there.
Can't be good at your job if you don't like it a little.
True.
I think he's full of shit.
Oh yeah.
It's easy to put on a zealot's mask and to pretend. I still don't understand. I feel like there's more to it than just bringing him back for a public execution.
Did anyone here play Final Fantasy VIII?
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay. This smells like Cypher and Edea, like or Cypher and Ultimecia. Like he's Jolene's puppet and just wants to be the knight for Jolene and doing whatever she says, and he's enjoying it. But he's like, he is a zealot though, but not like you might be onto something where it's like maybe it's a little bit more than that. But I do want to see him as like a paladin for his like a knight for his sorceress.
Yeah, I could see it. We still don't know how, because like Julian's been in Adra for a long time.
I just want to see that, and he could be jealous.
Yeah.
What if it's like a huge jealousy thing, like you slept with my lady kind of thing? Because that sounds exactly like the phrasing they would use too.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be some history between Tomas's wife and this Nixos guy, besides her just being a powder mage.
Yeah. I mean, well, I was thinking because Jolene and him literally slept together, and he loves Jolene.
Oh.
Not the but
wait,
yeah.
Jolene did not stay with Tamas though, right? It was with Bo.
Both of them.
What? With Tamas too?
Yeah.
Tamas got around, dude.
Powder mages and privileges usually don't get along, right?
Well,
you don't have to get along with somebody to do it with them.
I thought the history was behind Tomas's wife, which I don't know if it was covered in this chapter or a later chapter, but about the wife smuggling powder mages out of the country, out of Kes.
Yeah.
I thought it had something to do with that.
Oh, it could too. This is another excuse. I'm just coming up with fun like love triangle scenarios here that would explain why Mr. Nick here is a dick.
We don't actually have any evidence that Nicholas and
Jolene
have even met. So
yeah. This is hypothesis. This is my whiteboard.
Okay, we'll take that cue to move on. Chapter 27. Tomas is safe with Olim and company. Olim is sent out on an errand while Tomas stays back trying to convince his doctor to cut open his leg to remove the gold star that was implanted into it. We immediately switch to Adamat's POV while Tomas is on a table having impromptu surgery. Tomas is expecting to die, and if that happens, he expects the investigator to continue the investigation. Mahali appears unannounced, with broth for the field marshal, Tomas. Not moments later, the Archdiocese appears, wishing Tomas well, but also coming to apprehend Mahali on behalf of the church. A scuffle threatens to break out, but Mahali, with just a ladle, knocks out the Archdiocese unconscious. Tomas orders that Mahali stay on as the Legion chef, and they work to cover up the knocking out of the Archdiocese. Okay. First question. Should Adamat have asked Tomas for help in saving his family?
Considering the alternative is he's doing literally nothing, then yes.
I think no, right? Your hands are really tied at that point. It seems like this Vedas guy is very well informed too. If you are risking your family's life by asking Tomas.
Yeah, like, I think I think they've got eyes, and he talks to Tomas, and his family's gone. Like,
asking means they're deaf right away.
I think Tomas is smart enough to not spread it around and do something very low key, not tell anybody else in his circle. Like,
this is a place of magic. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what's listening in.
Your family's life is on the line, and your one word, like, no matter who you talk to, you need to really consider what the cost is of telling anyone about it. Like, it's very hard to understand from the reader's perspective, right? But if you're thinking about, this is your entire family on the line here. I don't think he's gonna do it, and I think it makes sense for him to not ask. There's no turning back beyond that.
This
It's
dude
very
seems
fake.
this dude seems so connected, and Adamat's not dumb and knows this. And like, you're not gonna think that like that guy didn't think about you talking to Tomas. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Like-
Well,
like-
so and the threatener, the visitor, does not actually say, "Don't tell Tomas about this." Like, he doesn't explicitly say that. He just wants Adamat to get to the bottom of this investigation.
mhm.
I think he should have told Tomas.
I think he
I
should have
agree.
told Mahali.
That probably would have worked out better.
Honestly. My next question, we already talked about, is Mahali a god? What was in that broth?
Drugs.
A
Healing
lot of
potion.
MSG.
A lot of it.
I mean, maybe there's cocaine in it. Like, we don't know.
I mean, I'm in the he's at a god camp, but
Yeah, just some generic healing potion that's going to help him heal faster
didn't even need to eat
and
it.
knock him
It
out.
was just there for a facilitator to excuse away. Even though he claimed himself to be a god, so I don't know why you'd excuse away anything like that.
Yeah, I find it interesting. So in the hunt chapter, and I didn't write this into the chapter summaries because I didn't think it was like super important to talk about, but Olam is asking Tomas on the hunt, what's going to happen to Mahali? And Tomas is pretty adamant that he's going to put Mahali in the insane asylum. And after this interaction with the Archdiocese, he completely changes his mind. Mahali, you're mine now. You are ours. Fuck the consequences.
This guy solves your food problem. It's the only logical solution.
What did you guys think of I think this was the last chapter, but the dog basically finding Tomas?
Oh, I mean, dumb. Like, it was like, oh, we had to have a reason for him to get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was really sad because his other dog wasn't there.
I just wish it had been something that like they had at least hinted at or, done something with. Like
Like, we
obviously
use
the
these
dog was a
dogs.
good hunter, but
Yeah.
anyway, just a
It
No,
was
that-
a plot
that-
device.
Daniel Bitchfest.
No, that's the thing. That issue that you have with the dog is my issue with the privileged towers and the red stripe bullets. Like, it
Yeah.
just seemed too convenient of an ad.
You got
Yeah.
a problem, you have to write a solution, you know?
Yeah. But you could go back and like drip like hints to the solution before just inserting it.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we have Tomas inviting two brigadiers to chat with. The first, Brigadier Sebastianin. Tomas invites him in and asks him to hide behind his screen and to stay quiet while he brings in another guest. The second Brigadier, who is the guest, is Brigadier Barat. He strides in confidently. Tomas confronts him about everything that happened with Brigadier Rise. He exposes his affair with Lady W and his betrayal. Barat is livid, and through his emotion, his tirade, he exposes that he is guilty. He knows that Tomas isn't a powder mage. And then the Brigadier Sebastianian reveals himself and shoots Barat dead. Understanding the chaos that will ensue, Tomas offers Sebastianian a place in his army when Lady W fires him. Here we have a POV switch to Nalia. Minutes later, after this exchange, she comes to Tomas and Olam right after the shootout to collect items for laundry. She leaves not only with a uniform and bloodied curtains, but with an interested Olam wanting to take her out for a date. She makes a mental note to kill Tomas when Olam is off duty. She likes him. Okay, how do you guys feel about how Tomas handled this issue with the Brigadiers? I thought it was very unlike Tomas to do it this way.
It just felt
Yes.
a little hasty.
Yeah.
It felt it went a bit too fast. It felt like.
Yeah, I think it was hasty. I think Tomas advocates for like justice, but it always seems to be his form of justice. So again, it's just like we have this man with this ideal, but then he goes off and does it his own way. So I guess it is like Tomas.
I felt like this was. So I don't feel like this author is very good at writing conversations, and it doesn't feel very natural. And I think this is where like the biggest sticking point, or the like most glaring example, just because it didn't seem like he was. There was enough there to be like, oh, he's guilty. Let's shoot him in the fucking head, you know.
Yeah.
Especially when Sebastian knew that he was going to get kicked out of like his beloved Wings of Adam. It didn't seem like a very realistic scene, I guess, for me.
It felt like a perfect opportunity to learn more, right? If he was really a traitor. Like, I'm actually very surprised that Sebastian shot him, because it's like, was that actually enough? Like, I thought that went on a bit too quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scene was weird.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Kinda. I just enjoyed that he was a little bit more subversive in the conversation than he has been up to this point, which is totally kind of against his character, which seems pretty straightforward, brash, to the point. I don't know. But
the problem is it was also like extremely stupid.
It was.
Because he made it sound like this was his plan all along, to get Sebastian kicked out of Wings of Adam so he could become his general.
Yeah.
When he's searching for the traitor and this guy knows who it is.
Yeah.
Like that should take priority over having one general that's good.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. My second question isn't a question, it's a statement. I called it. Nalia is gonna kill Tomas.
Neela.
I think
Nalia.
I think she wants to right now. I don't think she's gonna be the death of him.
I think she is.
Nah.
I'm definitely.
She
it's not like I called it for
Yeah.
sure. Gonna die.
I said that she was joining to get close to Tomas so she could kill him.
You know,
Gotcha. Yeah.
I was just imagining, like, if she ends up like sleeping with Olam, right, and then she tries to sneak out of bed to go kill Tomas, and Olam's like, "I'm just awake all the time, dude."
Apparently, Olam does have to rest when he's hurt.
I know, but
We learned that.
Oh man,
Like,
Olam's gonna give his
speaking of
life to
basic
save Tomas
stuff,
from her. Nyla's
Nah.
gonna go for the kill, and Olam's gonna jump in the way.
So
And
we have.
Be sad.
I'm pretty sure she's going to be the one to kill Tomas whenever it happens because she has a POV.
I think
And this
Tomas
is
is gonna survive all 3 books. I think he's the main character.
He's a shitty main character, in my opinion. I don't like him.
Yeah, but there's no good main character in this story.
Daniel's kind of grown on me.
Daniel feels
is
like,
like the
Daniel feels like not Kaladin. It feels like we're watching like the Words of Radiance or the Stormlight
Adolin?
Archive, but we're watching it from Adolin and Dalinir's perspective,
Yeah.
like as our primary sources.
I
Granted, there's a lot of POVs that are primary, but
I think that's probably a lot of the inspiration for this as well.
oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Brando Sando-esque things going on in here.
Anyway, so yeah, I got my I told you so.
Yeah, we thought you were wrong the whole time. I still don't think she's gonna be the death of him. There's gonna be a change of heart.
The death of Olam, though.
It is. I think my
Yeah.
Google corrected Neela to Nalia.
In this entire 10 chapters, Neela had like 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, like the last 20 chapters, like, right? She didn't have a lot last set either.
No. Yeah, but definitely more than this time. She's
Yeah.
getting less and less.
Okay, moving on.
Yep.
Chapter
That's
29. Despite the truce, the Kez diggers are still working constantly. Taniel, Bo, and Gavril are all worried. Gavril and Bo are putting together a team to clear out the mines. Gavril asks Kapal to come with before asking Taniel's permission. Taniel is taken aback and says that Kapal is under his protections and that she's so young. Paragraphs later, it is revealed that she's actually 19, and then she gets up into his face all flirtily, and now he cannot wait to taste her. Ick.
Is that the end of the chapter summary?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I was
Yeah.
surprised when you said Daniel's growing on you, because he's
Well,
going the opposite way for me.
Yeah.
I like him better than Tomas. I think probably Bo. No, Mahali's my favorite character.
The whole she's legal giggity giggity.
It's very like the Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen countdown to 18 websites or whatever that were popular 20 years ago when they were underage. Like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely got that vibe. So what do we think about this party that is going to go into the mines to see if they can get the Kez diggers?
I think it's smart to do it, but I think it's dumb to send like your entire A squad.
So, do you think this is where the big fight is going to happen? Where we're 3/4 of the way through the book, we are sending our A team into these mysterious tunnels.
I think a big fight.
I think it's the big fight for the book. I think we're going to get Julene, not dead, but fight her.
And then we're going to find out who the big bad of the whole series actually is.
I mean, sounds like a premise for somebody who's going to die, you know?
I guess that we can also say that Capal makes it clear that she sees herself as Taniel's protector and not the other way around in this scene.
Yeah, okay. And I think she's right. Like, she's clearly the more powerful of the two. And
this is all about knights. These are all about paladins or knights protecting their sorcerers. This is just the opposite, gender swap for this one.
Yeah.
So, is she actually a privileged? Like, back to that question, because aren't the privileges like they don't like the powder, right? They're allergic to the powder or something. But she doesn't seem to have the issue.
And this is kind of back to where I was talking about before with the different classes. I feel like she is her own thing, where I think my hypothesis is that she's a descendant of a pretty E, not of a privileged. Yeah. Which is why she's so powerful against the Cabal, why she's got all these, like, why it seems like she always seems to have the answer.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, she could be just a really young 19-year-old one, or she could just straight up be a pretty E who's been around for a while, which is why she wasn't married off when she was earlier. I think they talked about that, where normally they're married off when they're like 14 or whatever. Whereas if she's actually 2,000 years old, that explains why she's not married off.
I feel like if she was that old, she would know how to speak.
Wait, I thought her speaking thing was like a disability, right?
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, yeah, I thought the author just made her stupid because she's a savage.
She like can't talk.
Yeah, she literally has like no voice. Like I was like, wait, did I miss something? I was pretty sure.
No, I missed something. That's my bad. Okay, that makes things a lot better, in my opinion. Significantly better.
I feel like it kind of makes Taniel's attraction to her a little bit more concerning. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about Taniel's thing. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about how Capal is written. Like, I thought she was this idiot savage that's so smart, but she can't learn the language.
That would make it more concerning if he's preying on somebody who's just that dumb.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't think her being mute makes it any... I don't think it changes it at all. I think it's just creepy already.
Fair. I mean...
It's creepy in its own right.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, chapter 30. Adamant finds Rickard to let him know, as a friend, that he is coming up more and more as a prime suspect in his investigation, and that he needs to clean house. There is a moment of tension where Adamant fears for his life, but it passes and Rickard thanks him. Adamant's next stop is to interview the Archdiocese. Since he is running late from the morning orgy, Adamant is escorted to the Archdiocese after morning prayers. This entire villa is worked by beautiful men and women dressed in translucent silks. Adamant's escort informs Adamant that he is welcome to the pleasure of anyone he sees. And it's clear that this villa is operated much like a brothel. Adamant does catch the Archdiocese after the prayer service, and the conversation is brief, and the Archdiocese is uncooperative. Rickard is implicated again, with the Archdiocese mentioning his receiving of large sums of money. Rick, why do you love the church so much?
I actually really dig these, like, fantasy, like, the church is so fucking corrupt, like, setups. I don't know why, but it's always appealing to me. Like I don't know, the whole ultimate, or like, what is it? Power corrupts and ultimate power corrupts ultimately, or whatever. I definitely butchered that, but like it's always really interesting to see. And I know it's a trope, but it's one of those, like, these guys are gonna get what's coming to them. Clearly, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I like that. I mean, it's like, dude, I got a wife. Like, his family's literally at knife point right now. Maybe not the time to treat me with a brothel. Not that they know, but
right. Or maybe they do.
And apparently the
Ooh.
guests are not supposed to ever mention it, right?
yeah. Well, yeah, because like they're
Well, if
trying
you
to.
want to come back, you don't mention it.
Yeah, you don't talk about Fight Club.
There's been a lot of that in this book so far. Like,
You know-
each of the privileged has their own, like, basically little whorehouse, and like even Bo's got his like hangers on, and
The Harris.
yeah,
At the end of the chapter, they said, Adamant asked if Soul Smith wanted to infiltrate the place at night. I hope they accidentally killed the Charlemagne. He sounds
You're
like
really-
a really big douche that I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind seeing a gruesome end to him.
It's super fun seeing this side too. Like, after like the beginning parts of like, what, they didn't tell me, the church did, all of this, like the holding the church up in the beginning, and they're gonna back us, and then you come in here and you see a whorehouse. It's fun stuff.
I like that Sue Smith wasn't allowed to go onto the premises so that the Archdiocese didn't have any competition.
the ego, so fragile.
I feel I have a statement, and you guys feel free
Was that
to...
the last chapter?
That was
Yeah.
the last chapter. I feel like Rickard is not like at fault, but it feels like everybody's trying to set him up.
Hmm.
I feel like we're supposed to think it's Rickard, but I don't think it is.
But they didn't do enough foreshadowing because they don't believe in that in this book.
Yeah. Oh, the foreshadowing now feels kind of forced.
I don't know, with how much crap they just pull out of their ass, like within the same chapter to solve the problem that they have in that chapter. Like, it is really hard to like guess in a sense that of foreshadowing with this whole book anyway, to me, which is why I feel like I always throw shit at the wall with the whiteboard guesses, but this one in particular feels like anything could happen at this point. Besides, obviously Kresimir's coming back. He's gonna hang out with his bro, who's making food for everyone. God, what if it's just a goofy dude, like Mahali? Like, what if it's just another goofy dude, and this is all a build up?
Yeah,
I don't think that's the
It's-
case, but
I don't know. I still don't think Mihaly is a god. Like, why is Kresimir summoned, but it's his brother and he was like born, right? Like, what's the difference? Why does one need to be summoned, and why can one just be
Well,
birthed
'cause-
naturally?
Kresimir was like laid to rest with this vow, right? Like, we know you have to summon him to get him back, right? Because he made this pact.
not only that, but like, dude, if Kresimir is a dick, which Kresimir sounds like a dick, right? He sounds like he's gonna come back and destroy the world, right? So yeah, you banish that fucker, but who wants to banish Mahali? He's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
You let him chill. He's making you food. You throw him in the insane asylum when he's saying like shit like he's a god, but like, you don't banish him.
Yeah, it feels like there are way too many storylines right now, and some of them don't seem to be converging.
I like that. I appreciate that.
The Vetas one, the Lord Vetas one, is the one that feels the furthest out of place right now. It's hard to connect him to anybody else. I don't know. Like, of all these storylines that's going on right now, which one do you guys feel most or least invested in? Because, like, say, similar to Game of Thrones, right? Like, every time it went to the Raven boy, what's his name again?
Bran?
Yeah.
Bran, yeah. Every time the story switched to him, I lose all interest because I hated the storyline so much. Like, do you guys have one of these storylines that you feel that way about in this book so far?
Adamant half the time.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
it's
getting-
Adamant for me right now. It feels like his story is so disjointed from the rest so far. At least more and more, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I do like the non-converging stories, and I like that it isn't obvious. We know that they will all converge right now, but at least to me, it's not super clear how everything's going to come together, and I appreciate that.
Dial is getting too wordy. Too much.
For 2 paragraphs? I think Olam is also on my suspect radar. Like, you just don't have white knights lying around.
No, Olam's a good guy. Don't you dare say that about him.
Don't trust anyone who doesn't sleep.
I never have.
Yeah. Okay, do you guys want to move on to the question of the day?
We got to come up with a jingle that's like, it's the random question of the day.
You just did it. That's really good.
We got to do it in sync, though.
Oh my god.
2.
Wait,
1.
wait. Can you write it down real quick so I can read it? So I can do like a sing along.
No.
Random. Damn it.
It's the random
The random
question of
the day. We can all say it together, like
Yeah,
Can we
monotone.
just play the
That's what he's
Nyan
saying.
Cat?
It's
Can we just play
Alright.
the random
3,
question.
2, 1. It's the
It's
random,
the random
question
question
of
of
the
the day. This is fucking awful words of words.
Yes.
I
Can we
pledge
rather
allegiance to the flag.
of the random question of the day. All right.
You should just find a Nyan Cat sound clip and play that.
Somebody wants to hook me up with a sound clip. I have never done like audio. Anyway, random question of the day. This is going to take looking into your phone. Everyone have their phone handy? It's a
Okay.
cell phone. Of course, everyone's going to have it handy. How much screen time average over the last week do you have?
How do you find that?
So if you go into settings, you're on Android, go to digital well-being.
Oh, okay. Set.
Yikes, Lexi.
What?
So my top 2 are Mana Box and Star Rail, and that's just because like I put it on the counter. 3
Oh,
hours
okay.
and 50.
3:15.
I'm only seeing
Also,
app info.
yesterday, I'll tell you guys this. My Face ID stopped working, and I have 17,000 photos on my phone, and the only way to fix my Face ID is to reset my phone. And
Oh.
so I've been spending the past couple days backing up my iPhone, including those 17,000 photos.
If this includes Sunday, I was definitely in a car for like 8 hours.
We don't
4
have to
hours.
come up with excuses. We can just own that we're on our phones too much.
Do
4
you think
hours.
3 hours?
What do you, yours is comparable to Rick's.
Yeah. And I was in a car
We
for
should-
8 hours.
All right, we got to go around and
Justify
say it.
ourselves.
because we're on podcast and we're all showing shit on camera.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, good point. Good point.
All right, I'm at 2 hours 58 minutes. I have spent a lot of time on my phone this week. Also, my top apps are Fishdom and SpiderGo, and AntennaPod, which is a podcast app, and the other 2 are games because it would have been Reddit is Fun before Reddit is Fun got canceled, and after that died, I still kept picking my phone up, but I didn't have anything to do on it, and so I downloaded a game. So that was a mistake, but yeah. I should have gotten out of the habit of picking my phone up, but I didn't. So yeah.
I'm at 3:15. My tops are Facebook and Reddit and Maps.
Is that
Do you
today
see
or
official?
this week?
I use
The
the
average.
I have
Or
but
daily
we're talking
average.
like 40 minutes of Reddit
Okay.
while I was traveling because I was traveling on Sunday.
So if you hit the like little graph thing in the upper right corner, that'll give you your weekly report.
Ooh.
Oh, top 3 apps this week: Facebook, Maps, and TikTok.
What's your daily average screen time then?
4 hours. That's
4
All right,
hours,
Lexi.
49 minutes.
Mine has gone up a minute since we started doing this.
Yeah.
So my daily average is 5 hours and 50 minutes. My most used are Mana Box and Star Rail. Mana Box is like a Magic the Gathering app, and I usually have it just open on my desk while I'm sorting decks.
What's the other one?
Honkai Star Rail is a gacha game that
Okay.
Leonard and I play.
All right, Leonard. What do you got?
4 hours, 49 minutes.
What are your top apps?
Chrome, Robinhood, and a game. The game is like a very small percentage of that whole thing though. So it's mostly Chrome and Robinhood.
Okay.
Chrome being like probably 60% of the whole thing. I guess it's because I don't know, I search and read all sorts of shit. Like even at the gym, right? I'm like looking up like the right posture to do certain things, or if I'm
Sure.
like making food, I'm looking up what's the nutrition in everything I'm cooking. Yeah, I use Chrome for like everything, so Chrome's like majority of it. Robinhood's just I basically check my investment portfolio every day. Makes sense.
Lexi shocked by that.
No, sorry. I can actually see my screen time each week for like the past year.
Is it on its way up or down?
I average around 4 hours per day. It also tells me how many pickups and how many notifications I get.
Yeah.
Thanks, Daniel, for new metrics to worry about in my life.
Yeah. This
Actually,
is
That's what the question of the day is for.
yeah.
Actually, the Android phone tells you every Sunday. I don't know, like every Sunday I
that's
get a notification that
Apple
says
does
I use
too.
more or less. Yeah.
It's a good reminder that we're all on our phones too much, I think, because even like 3 hours a day just feels like a long time to be on staring at a screen.
But the question is
Yeah.
like,
Says the
Are you-
programmer.
well, but I was gonna say, hold on. Like a lot of this probably isn't actually like for me. I constantly just put my phone down while it's still open.
Yeah.
Like whether am I actually looking at it during the 4 hours? Definitely not. Like I'll put it and I'll just throw it on the ground and I'll come back to it and it'll fall asleep or something.
Yeah, I have my phone to go to sleep. Never. My phone will only go to sleep if I lock it.
Wow.
I definitely go to
Yes.
sleep, but
Mine's like 10 minutes timeout or something.
Yeah, it's just like when I'm sorting magic cards, like I need to have it open. Hands are full.
Actually,
that said, I'm definitely addicted to technology. So like, the point's still valid.
No, we're not supposed to validate the point.
well,
Don't
unfortunately,
validate.
this I actually had a lot to think about like what technology has done to us like in the last like 10, 20 years, right? Like if you think about way past in the past 100 years before, people used to have such focused interests, right? Like, oh, if you wanted to hang out, let's go bowling or let's go do something, play tennis, right? Like people had there were more people in groups of hobbies, but because the digital age has brought us so much more variety, like our interests have separated a lot more. Like we think about movies, now movies we have genres. We like certain movies. We think about anime has genres as well, and art, and it just feels like digital content has given us so many options that people's interests have also spread out a lot more. So now people are further apart than before because they don't share the similar smaller pool of interests anymore.
I agree to an extent. I think the having less work to do and having a higher quality of life allows people to actually explore their hobbies more to the point where they do get super specialized. I think that has a lot more to do with it. Definitely enabled by technology, but not because of technology. That makes
I think
sense.
I disagree. I mean, I agree with having maybe a little bit more time, but the point on Leonard's though, I don't think it's digital. I think it's actually supply chain and inventory management and delivery management and hyper focus on these giant conglomerates like Amazon and Walmart and things like that that are able to make all of these things for these hobbies accessible. Because granted, you do have a
Accessibility.
lot. Yeah, it's all of that because like
Yeah, I mean, you have more time, but your time is now put in accessible content that is individualistic rather than you need to reach out less now. You have more time, but you don't need to reach out as far, and that feels like all this change has separated people more as a society. Yeah.
I disagree. I think it's easier than ever to find people with similar interests, right? If you want to find people that play Magic the Gathering, that's super easy. If you want to find friends that live halfway across the country that play Heroes of the Storm and be friends with them for the next 8 years, super
Sure.
easy to do.
But you're talking about one or two very specific interests rather than a few groups of interests, right? Let's say I found someone who's interested in one very specific video game, but that's the only video game we have in common. We like nothing else about, like I don't like the board games they play. I don't like the kind of books they read or the kind of movies they watch. It's just
Yeah, I feel like we're getting called out here, bud.
it's just that interests have become so specialized, right, into more specific pools. It's harder to, I think it's harder to find groups of interests similar to other people than before.
What I got here is, yeah, I'll play HOTS with you guys, but fuck your other interests.
Oh.
Y'all are terrible people.
Yeah, I don't know, because I just met somebody yesterday that's really into anime and really into Magic and really into MOBAs, and it was just, I don't know, there's a lot of similar interests.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about it for the previous 9 months because they didn't
There's
see
no
the
need to talk
manga I
about it.
had. Yeah,
I
as
mean,
soon as we talked about it,
no
it's
reason
we
to
have a
talk about
ton
it,
of...
right? It's like our content is delivered so directly to us, we don't need other people to share it with anymore. And this is why, I feel like it has created a separation in just, the societal level.
Well, I'm not gonna talk to people about my interests unless they ask, or if they have a little pin or something, right? And I don't think 20 years ago they were doing the same thing. They weren't,
think about it this way.
hey, do you want to come grilling with me?
Say go back 200 years, right, or 300 years, whatever. When people
they
have
definitely had hobbies. Yep.
We may also be talking the
but-
difference between introverts and extroverts here too. Not necessarily even societal differences, just literal personalities. Extroverts generally will pick up hobbies that allow them to be more extroverted and have those social things, like beer league baseball or softball, or things like that. That still definitely exists, just not in our subculture. And I think we're maybe dissecting our own subculture very hard right now and ignoring everybody else out there. Because, we're fucking nerds, guys. I don't know if you know this about us, but,
is that a 3D printer on your desk?
I mean, this one that's open because I'm about to, start putting in custom modifications and custom firmware. No, that's the normal hobby that everyone does.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up because I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick here. Let's all give it a how are we liking it? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs medium. Lexi. Let's do it in a verbal format. Everyone's thumbs medium.
Wait,
don't
you
worry.
said thumbs.
I know.
Thumbs meh.
Thumbs meh. Okay.
It's not bad, but it's not great.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week with the Promise of Blood, Part 4. Dun, dun, dun.
You say next week.
We'll be back whenever we're back. If we're not there next week, just keep waiting.
Yep. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.